In this tutorial, we explore completing an AcroForm using the DynamicPDF API's PDF endpoint. We call the PDF endpoint first directly by calling the endpoint in PostMan. Next, we illustrate calling the endpoint using each of DynamicPDF's 6 client libraries. DynamicPDF has client libraries for Node.js, .NET, Java, PHP, Go, and Python. DynamicPDF API is an easy-to-use and scalable API for creating PDF documents using REST calls on the web. The PDF endpoint allows creating simple one-page PDF documents, reports, converting images to PDFs, and merging PDFs into a combined PDF. But here, we're going to use the PDF endpoint to fill in a pre-existing PDF AcroForm with data. Okay, what we're doing is this. The processing instructions comes from your local system. These processing instructions provide the details to the PDF endpoint on how to process your request. The PDF document, or the form, resides in your dynamic PDF cloud storage. The instructions JSON is sent to the PDF endpoint, and then the instructions combined with the PDF form are combined to fill out the form. The PDF endpoint then returns the completed PDF as binary. Okay, let's start by logging into the DynamicPDF API portal. After logging into the portal, you're first taken to the dashboard. The dashboard is where you work with your Cloud API account. Now navigate to the File Manager, and then select Add Samples to open the Add Sample dialog. Check the Fill an AcroForm example, then click Add to add the sample. Download both files to your local file system. After downloading the files, I assume the following folder for storing the local resources. Open the instructions JSON, and notice it contains the instructions used to create a PDF by the PDF endpoint. After specifying the top-level metadata, it first defines the inputs. In this case, it's a PDF input, or the form we're going to complete. Then it specifies the form fields and the values to assign the fields. Using this information, the PDF endpoint takes the instructions JSON and the PDF and completes the form. The endpoint then returns the completed PDF as binary. Note, if you need to get a PDF form's field names, you could always use the PDF info endpoint. And now that we have the needed resources, let's use PostMan to call the endpoint. Navigate to the DynamicPDF API documentation. Select User's Guide, and then API. Now go to the PDF endpoint. The PDF endpoint takes a form post request. It takes your API key as a header parameter, named authorization. It then has an instructions form field for sending the instructions as an HTTP file. Don't let the fact that it's a file throw you. Recall that when a file is sent via HTTP post, it's really just binary. So you could, using code, you could send raw binary. Then it accepts one or more resource fields for any local resources you might need to upload to the endpoint. Okay, let's run the endpoint in PostMan. Click the Run in PostMan button, and it takes us to PostMan. It asks us if we want to simply view the collection, import a copy, or fork the collection. Here I choose Fork Collection to fork the collection. Okay, PostMan wants me to log in, so I log in. And let's change the fork label to something more meaningful. Here, let's just name it PDF Tutorial Fork. Now click Fork Collection. After the collection is forked, we can now work with it in PostMan. Let's set the environment variables. Click Environments, then DynamicPDF Public Environment. Notice it has one variable we need to change, the API key. Of course, the variable name here is authorization. Return to the portal and select API keys. Copy the API key to your clipboard. Return to PostMan and post the key in the current value. Persist and then save the modified environment. Now select Collections and then select the PDF template. Go up here to the right and change the environment to DynamicPDF API. Go to Body, then add the instructions.json file. Note that here we're not adding the PDF as a resource. Instead, we're going to get that PDF from cloud storage. Go ahead and delete the resource field. Click Send, and the PDF endpoint completes the PDF AcroForm and returns the result as binary. Of course, PostMan knows how to render the binary as a PDF document. Now let's change the endpoint a bit to use a PDF from our local file system rather than Dynamic PDF Cloud. Recall that the instructions JSON had the relative path to the PDF, as you see here. What we need to do is we modify the JSON to only specify the file name. So open instructions.json in your text editor. Now replace instructions.json with the newly modified document. Add the resource variable back as a field. Set the type to file. Then get the PDF from your local file system. Click Send and the PDF is generated. Now let's use the DynamicPDF.NET Client Library with the PDF endpoint. I assume that you have already downloaded the .NET Client Examples project from GitHub, and I assume that you have opened it in Visual Studio. Let's check that the NuGet package has the DynamicPDF Client Library. So go ahead and navigate to Manage NuGet Packages, and we want to look at it installed. And yes, we see it has it, so we're okay. Let's go ahead and close it, and let's return to the class. Navigate to the Completing an AcroForm project and open Program. Notice the API key is the key we get from the portal. The output path is the path we wish to save the completed PDF to. Main calls the fillAcroForm class's run method. This class is in the DynamicPDF Client Library Examples project, so navigate to it and open fillAcroForm.cs. This class first takes the API key and the output path. It then creates a new PDF. It sets the API key, and the PDF instance adds the PDF form from cloud storage. Recall that you specify a cloud resource's relative path in cloud storage in the portal's file manager. It then specifies the following 9 form fields, where each one is specifying the field's name in the PDF followed by the value. Note, if you need to get a PDF form's field names, you could always use the PDF info endpoint, as you see here. Okay, let's scroll down to the PDF form fields add. Then it adds the fields to the PDF instance's form fields collection. It then calls the PDF instance's process method to call the PDF endpoint and return the completed PDF as binary. If unsuccessful, it prints the error to the console. If successful, it saves the completed PDF. Okay, run the application. Okay, close the command window. Navigate to the completed PDF. And there's the produced PDF. The PDF, which previously wasn't filled out, has the first 9 fields completed. Now let's use the PDF endpoint with the Java client library. I assume you've downloaded the DynamicPDF API Examples project from GitHub and imported it to Eclipse as a Maven project. After opening the project, open the POM file. Now let's check that the DynamicPDF Client Library version is the latest. It is the latest version, so let's build the application using Maven. Wait for it to build. After building, open the completing acroform.java file. The main method calls the run method, passing the API key and base directory. The API key is set in the DynamicPDF Cloud Examples class. This class is used for running all the examples at once if you wish to. Of course, we're just running our one isolated example, so we're just getting global variables from this class. The API key is, of course, your key in cloud storage that you get that you get from the apps and API keys in the portal. Return to the completing AcroForm class. First, we create a new instance of the PDF class. Then we set the API key. Then we're going to go ahead and add the PDF, which we're getting from cloud storage. Then we create 9 form fields, where the first attribute is the field name and the second is the field value. Then we add the form fields to the get form fields collection of the PDF. Then the PDF instance calls the process method, which returns the PDF response. If successful, it writes the PDF response as a file. Otherwise, it writes the error to the console. Let's go ahead and run the class. So go to completing AcroForm, right-click, select Run as Java Application. Okay, navigate to the output folder. And there's the PDF, fill AcroForm Java output. Now let's use the Node.js client library with the PDF endpoint. I assume you downloaded the Node.js client examples project from GitHub. I also assume you obtained the client library using npm and that you have the project opened in Visual Studio Code. Open completing acroform.js to view the code, and notice the static run method. First, we create a new instance of the PDF class. Then we set the API key. The API key is, of course, your key in cloud storage that you get from the apps and API keys in the portal. Then it sets the relative path, which, of course, we're getting the relative path from the portal. Then it adds the fields to the PDF instance's form fields collection, where the first attribute is the field name and the second is the field value. Then it calls form fields push to add each one of the fields to the form fields array for the PDF. And it asynchronously awaits for the PDF to call the process method and return the result. And let's see, if it's successful, it writes it to the output to a file stream. Otherwise, it's just going to log the error to our console. And then it has the await method, and it just awaits for the run method to be called on the completing AcroForm class. Okay, in the terminal, type node completing acroform.js, hit return, and it generates the PDF. Now we need to go to the output folder. Let's go ahead and look at it in the File Explorer, and there's the PDF. Double-click the PDF, and there you go. The first 9 form fields of the PDF are completed. Now let's use the PHP Client Library with the PDF endpoint. I assume you obtained the PHP Client Library from GitHub, and that you have installed the DynamicPDF API Client Library using Composer, and that you have the project opened in Visual Studio Code. Before beginning, let's consider the common properties in constants.php. Open constants.php. Notice it has the 3 defined statements where you set the API key, the base path, and the output path. The API key is, of course, your API key coming from the portal. The base path is the base path for all the resources used in this tutorial. And the output path is where it's going to write the created PDFs. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the example. I'll open completing acroform.php. Notice the static run function that takes the API key, the path, and the output path. First, it creates a new PDF instance. Then it sets the API key. Then it calls the add PDF method And it's calling this from the cloud this time. So we got this from the cloud. And then we create 9 form field instances and assign them respective values. Then we add each to the PDF form fields collection. Then we call the process method. If it's successfully output it and we output it as a PDF. Otherwise, we print out the error message. Now go to the bottom and type PHP completing acroform.php. Hit return, and it generates the PDF. Now we need to go to the output folder. Let's go ahead and look at it in the File Explorer. Double-click the PDF to open it. And there you go. The first 9 form fields of the PDF are completed. Now let's use the Python Client Library with the PDF endpoint. I assume you've downloaded the Python client examples from GitHub. I also assume that you've installed the DynamicPDF API using pip. I assume that you're using Visual Studio Code. Now open completing acroform.py file. The method is defined as completing acroform and takes the API key. Now the API key is set in the file shared.py. The API key is of course coming from the portal. It also has the base path and output path. Close the shared.py file and return to completing acroform.py. First, we create a new instance of the PDF class. Then we set the API key. Then it sets the relative path, which of course we're getting the relative path from the portal. Then it adds the fields to the PDF instance's form fields collection, where the first attribute is the field name and the second is the field value. Then the PDF instance calls the process method, which returns the PDF response. If successful, it writes the PDF response as a file. Otherwise, it writes the error to the console. It then sets the method defined above as the main method. In the terminal, type Python completing acroform.py and run the application. And it generates the PDF. Navigate to the output folder. Right-click and select Reveal File Explorer. Double-click the PDF to open it. And the PDF has the 9 form fields completed. Now let's use the Go client library with the PDF endpoint. I assume you've downloaded the Go client examples from GitHub. I also assume you've downloaded the DynamicPDF Client API for Go using the following go get command. Open the file fill-acroform.go. First, we create a new instance of the PDF class. Then we set the PDF instance's base URL. Set the API key, then set the output path. The API key, of course, is coming from the portal. Create a new PDF input instance using the PDF from cloud storage. Set the PDF input to the PDF instance. Create 9 new form fields and in each set the field name and value. Then add the form field to the PDF's form fields array. Then the PDF instance calls the process method, which returns the PDF response. If successful, it writes the PDF response as a file. Otherwise, it writes the error to the console. In the terminal, type go fill acroform.go to run the application. Navigate to the output folder. Right-click and select Reveal in the File Explorer. Double-click the PDF to open it. and the PDF has the 9 form fields completed. And there you have it. This is just one example of using the PDF endpoint. In all 6 languages, the steps were similar. First, we created a new instance of the PDF class, which abstracts the PDF endpoint. This PDF instance holds the merged PDF after processing. We then loaded the PDF into the PDF instance using the addPDF method. Then we created 9 form field instances, and in the constructor, set the field name from the PDF form, and then we set the field's value. Next, we added the form field instances to the PDF instances form fields collection. And then we called the PDF endpoint and saved the results as a PDF on the local file system. So as you can see, in all 6 languages, the steps were similar. So try DynamicPDF API for yourself. And we're certain you'll agree that DynamicPDF API is hands down the most powerful tool for helping your organization create PDF reports. I'm James, developer evangelist at DynamicPDF, reminding you, when you think PDF, think DynamicPDF API. See you next time.